Hello and welcome back to 1874. It's Monday, so it's time for the Monday review, getting inside Aston Villa's 1-0 win against Wolverhampton Wanderers on Sunday afternoon. I'm your host, Dan Bardell, joined by the Athletics Aston Villa correspondent, JACOB Tanswell, and this show is sponsored by NordVPN. If you head to nordvpn.com/1874, you'll protect yourself against threats. It's completely risk-free because they offer 30-day money-back guarantee. You'll also get a huge discount and 4 months for free by heading to nordvpn.com/1874. As I say many times, it helps me working in football to let me watch as much football as I possibly can. I use it every single weekend, use it in the week as well. So if you want to get some extra football in your life, use NordVPN, use our address, and you'll get some more football, and you'll also be safe against threats. Now, Jacob, you won't have watched it because you've been busy writing your article for The Athletic, but when I was doing my post-match review in the car on the way back, I said I'll be doing a Monday review. Hopefully, it's with JACOB Tanswell. And then just as I finished, I received the magic text. I didn't even have to ask. You came to me and asked me if I needed you. And I said, yes, Jacob, I need you, because I really enjoy doing these shows, especially after a Villa win. You know, there's 3 or 4 bits of content that come out after Villa games nowadays. And to do yet another piece of content with Villa having won, sitting top 4 in the Premier League, wasn't the best performance, but these are great times.
They are, right? And we all went into the game assuming that Villa were going to win, right? And it was inevitable, it felt like anyway. The worst team in the league. We've got fewer points than Derby County at this stage when they got their 11 against the best team in Europe over the last 3 years at home. So on paper, it was supposed to be quite a clear-cut game. Of course, you don't factor in the intangibles, do you? But the fact that they got a new manager, they're going to be aggressive, Midlands Derby to an extent. All these intangibles will contribute to how the game goes, and football is never straightforward. It was a difficult game, but the facts are, and we'll talk about the other facts and the concerns we may have. But the facts are brilliant. Villa doing brilliantly with a squad that is weaker than last season. Emery's doing his magic, and one of the best coaches of his generation. That is without question of doubt, which we already knew, but he's reaffirming it. And I think his performance, him personally, since September, is the best performance he's produced since he's been at Villa. And I've said this for you. I've been consistent, even at the live show. I've said that if they can get into Europe 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th, that is his best achievement at Villa. And I still firmly believe that. And what he's done, his home record, is wonderful. And what a time to be an Aston Villa supporter, Dan.
Yeah, mate, 6 points off top of the league. We're in the title race. We're well in the thick of it going into December. I say this every week. If you'd have told me at the end of August that going into December the 1st, Aston Villa would be in the top 4, 6 points off Arsenal in the top of the league, I just wouldn't have believed you. You're right to praise Emery. You know, the turnaround has been absolutely fantastic. Just when I never doubted him, but just when you start to think like, how much magic has he got? Like, surely he can't just keep doing what he's done over the last few years. He just always seems to find a way. It'd be fascinating to know what goes on behind the scenes and how he does what he does. You'll know more about that than I do. But for Villa to be sitting 4th at this stage of the season, today wasn't pretty. You know, they've had, I would say, 2 really good home wins before that, 2 clean sheets as well, beating Manchester City and Bournemouth. But this win in a different way, you know, it's an ugly win, probably on the balance of play and the kind of big chances in the game, didn't deserve to win the game, if I'm being brutally honest. But good sides get the job done in different ways, and Villa have shown that again today.
Yeah, definitely. My piece on Monday is about the transformation really since August and September.
Excellent.
Because as I said to you before, this is not us being with Captain Hindsight and saying it wasn't that bad. Villa staff will even admit it was bad, and they were in, got described to me as a nightmare situation, and that's what it was in terms of the transfer window, the sanctions they had. It was an awful, turbulent window. So to do what they've done through consistency, through sticking to message, through player buy-in, is so important. And as I've told you before, when a tide turns for a coach, it's very hard to resurrect it. And although the tide hadn't turned for Emery, the mood was flat. And so to lift these players, to get them confident again, was good. Of course, they've had some luck along the way. The fact that they had Fulham and Burnley at home in the league was a great opportunity to get some confidence going. The Europa League, Emery's even admitted as well, has massively helped in terms of getting rhythm into players, building confidence into players. And this game was difficult in terms of, okay, they rested a lot of players on Thursday night, but they had a few hours of analysis sessions, one Saturday low intensity session as well, and they had to gear themselves up for a really aggressive, hostile atmosphere and game from both sets of supporters, and they did that, and they a good teams, as you say, battle and they don't cave. Villa were on shaky ground, like a boxer from going from rope to rope, but they they hung in there, and in the end, quality told, and that was a brilliant goal to win it. But when you're struggling, you have to rely on your structure, and you see that through the defensive solidity. They've conceded exactly half the amount of goals they did at this stage last season.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
That's massive, really, because we can always talk. We can talk about all the goals scored outside the box, but that's obviously being the key difference maker at the moment. But if Villa were even conceded 5 or 6 more goals, that would make a huge difference on where they were on the table. They'd be well below it. The fact that they've got defensive solidity, so even when things are going badly, they still got that structure. But then they've also got individuals who can win you a game, whether it's going forward or whether that's the good Emmy Martinez turns up and he produces that as well. He's got such a seesawing season. That Gattuso meme, either really good or the other word. Yeah, brilliant, and I really enjoyed today's game. It wasn't obviously the best quality, but I thought it was a really, really good, aggressive game.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy 9 minutes of stoppage time. I will say that my heart started to go. I was very confident going into the game that in some way Villa would just win, and I was never massively worried through the game that we wouldn't win. I always felt we'd find a way to win. And as I say, you have to win in different ways. If you're a good team, you do that. That's what Villa did this season. They finished fourth. It's what they did in the kind of second half of last season when they could have finished in the top 5 and achieved their dreams that they wanted to achieve of qualifying for the Champions League again. I thought we'd get there. It was much more up and down through the game than I thought it was going to be, but kind of a tale of 2 players. Well, maybe 3, because that's been a bit harsh on Boubacar Kamara, really. You don't expect Boubacar Kamara to be lashing home left-footed half volleys to win Villa games. I think that's only the second goal he scored for the club. They've both been with his wrong foot, incidentally, as well. But you're right to call upon Emi Martinez. He was brilliant. I'm sure we're going to talk about him. But I just want to start by talking about John McGinn. Captain fantastic. The tifos unfurled before the game. I don't know whether you know this. I was speaking to someone before the game who knows about the tifo and how it goes about being prepared and whatnot. And apparently this was due to be on his 300th game, which from memory I can't remember which game that was. Was it a European game? I imagine
Maccabi Tel
Maccabi.
Aviv.
Yeah. So originally that tifo was going to be then. Apparently, I got told that John McGinn requested that it was actually saved for the Wolves game, the big Premier League game, and I think he walked out with his family. From what I could see before the game, I'm presuming it was his family because they all had 7 McGinn shirts on, and lots of other players had their family involved today. But to see that tifo go down before the game, it's a lovely touch from the club. I've got to say, I've said things last season. I was critical of certain things that the club were doing. I've got to say, in recent times, the last few months, they've got an awful lot right, and they've done some wonderful things. The Christmas advert. I was speaking to someone on Friday night about the work with the ex-players. That looks like it's going in the right direction and really, really strong as well. Seeing that tifo of John McGinn come down, it is a lovely touch, and he fully deserves it. And he was unbelievable again today.
Yeah, obviously there's been a few changes since last season. Francesco Calvo's come in. Different culture under him than his predecessor, that's for sure. But yeah, going to John McGinn, I've spoke effusively about him. He's a modern day legend. I love him as a reporter. I can only imagine what Villa fans think of him. Brilliant player. He embodies, as I've said before, the rise of Aston Villa. And even today, right, it was a really difficult game, and Emery spoke afterwards about saying he wanted to rest McGinn for Thursday because he knew he needed fresh legs and he needed a battler on Sunday against Wolves. And obviously McGinn does that. He was playing a little bit wider than he ordinarily would be. I looked at him on that touchline. I thought, oh no, it's the Brentford game again. But he made it work better than he did, or better than they did against Brentford. And even there's the intangibles right as well. So that when the subs are coming on at the end, Sancho and Bogard, would have been McGinn coming off, and the other player I can't remember who. But obviously he saw that Ross Barkley was limping, and he ran over to the touchline, or he shouted at the touchline and was like, "Just hold. We need to change the subs because Ross can't continue." It's these little things that he picks up on, getting around the referee, leading from the front. an amazing player. I would love him at my club. I'm sure every fans would love it. Although he gets a lot of criticism and songs shouted at him from away supporters or the other team supporters, they would love him in their team, and that's the biggest compliment you can pay him.
Yeah, this is a guy now that for me is a club legend. He's a guy who's really grown into the leadership role. I think he was given the captaincy at a point where he was struggling, as most of the club was struggling at that point under Steven Gerrard. The way it came off Tyrone Mings, who's a good friend of his, wasn't brilliant. And at that point, I think he was just drowning, and the captaincy added another responsibility, another layer to it that he just didn't need. But over the years, as Emery's come in, he's just grown into this magnificent captain. And I have to say, he's now at the point where I think he might be the best captain I've ever seen at this club. He's certainly the best captain since Andy Townsend, who I would probably say was the best captain I had seen before John McGinn. Just everything, the whole package with him, the way he's grown through the kind of different tiers with Villa as well, going from Championship to Champions League, and just never looked out of place in any of those times. He's been questioned at times by various people through his Villa career. I remember when he got the captaincy, I personally questioned him on podcasts. I knew he was a good player, but at the time he was obviously struggling. The way he's come back from that, the way he's just grown into this, just the face of Aston Villa. He's Mr. Aston Villa to me now, John McGinn. And for someone who, wasn't born in the Midlands, wasn't a Villa fan, he just embodies everything that I think is great about the modern day Villa. And I just think he's a superb role model, a superb leader, a superb character. And long may it continue. I'd back him to get to 400 games. And he's just a phenomenal, phenomenal captain and a phenomenal player. And brief times I've met him, seems a great person as well.
Yeah, he's the best, most interesting footballer I've interviewed, most normal footballer I've interviewed. I've done it a few times now, and when you talk to him and when you say hello to him at the start of it, most of the time you're like, well, this is obviously a footballer. They might give you football answers. They might sit a certain way, a footballer's way, if that's even a thing. With McGinn, it's very quickly like you feel like you've known him for a long time. You know of him. He's so down to earth. He never forgets where he's from. Personable. Will speak to anyone. Everyone has. No one's got a bad word to say about him from the top of the club to the bottom of the club. He talks to everyone. He treats everyone. In this piece I wrote a few weeks back, he's got group chat set up with, for example, Aidan Ball and Rory Wilson, 18, 19-year-old Scottish kids saying, if you need anything, if you want tickets, let me know. Whenever a young player signs their first pro deal, he'll go out of his way maybe to the academy area pavilion or to the cafeteria, introduce himself to the player, to the family, to the friends, congratulate them on signing it. And that's the type of player and culture Emery wants. He wants good guys who will work hard. They're there, be professional to the max, and he wants someone that will drive standards in the change rooms, right? And there's been times where players haven't been pulling their weight. McGinn will let you know, and there's other times as well where sometimes a player might be going through a difficult run of confidence, and McGinn will be able to talk to him differently. So he's got so many different hats. He doesn't treat everyone the same. He knows what everyone wants, and that's a leadership skill in itself. A brilliant captain, brilliant man, and yeah, let's hope he's around for many more years.
Yeah, I just think as well, on current form, I think he's not only like one of the most important players at Villa or one of the best players at Villa. I think at the moment he's one of the best players in the league in terms of what he offers. You think he's playing for a club that's sitting in the top four as well. He's just the model of consistency. Even if he's not having a brilliant game, he's involved. He's doing the basics. He's geeing up those around him, making sure that they're doing their jobs. And he'd probably be the first to admit that he's not perfect every week, but I think in the last kind of few weeks when we've needed something, this season in general, actually, when we have needed something, John McGinn has been the one that stepped up, and credit to him. Like I say, just I can't speak highly enough of him
Yeah,
and what I think of him.
but in September, right, when Villa were going through their bad run of form, gets the goals against Bologna, gets the goal against Fulham, big goals when you need him, pulls them out of the rut. He holds a talk with the players, maybe before or after the Sunderland game, I can't remember, says this is not good enough. We need to raise standards again. So, yes, he's playing brilliant now, but he was one of the drivers of the start of this turnaround where they've won 11 now and 13. And this, yeah, we've known McGinn's brilliant. I've seen him for a few years. He's always been my favourite player to watch, other than my brief dalliance with John Duran. But
Oh, silly darling.
he's he's brilliant, and he's only gone to underline that more this season.
Jacob getting carried away with the flashy new kid on the block. Don't do that, Jacob. Don't get carried away. And Duran's having a nightmare by all accounts. I think
I can't
in
believe you don't
Turkey
get
at
to
the
see
moment.
him. I can't believe you don't get to see him. He's going to be
Oh,
suspended, isn't he, for the game?
that would have been box office, wouldn't it? I mean, it
Amazing.
would have been box office or a mad as a box of frogs.
I
It
would
would
have
have
been
would have been
flying
something.
out 2 days before doing a big piece on John Duran, but yeah, not to be.
Jacob's dreams quashed there with John Duran's actions in the last Europa League game for his team. Game wise, we've said Villa were a little bit lucky. Big
Yeah.
decisions in some ways went Villa's way. The first one, I've got to say, the offside. I thought at the time, that's a little bit harsh. I've watched it back before we've come on the pod, and I actually think it's the correct decision now. Although I could see why Wolves might be aggrieved by that, maybe. But the goalkeeper has put on a goalkeeping masterclass today. The one save is absolutely incredible from Emi Martinez. And the last two home games, for all I'm sitting here waxing lyrical about John McGinn and talking about great goals that we've scored in the last few weeks, the last two home games, Emi Martinez has had a huge say in what's happened and been a huge part of why things have gone in the right way for Villa in those two games, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And like I said earlier, his form has just been fluctuating, isn't it? But a theme has been after a howler or a bad game, you take Liverpool, you take Leeds game where I think he should have done much better for their goal.
Yeah.
He bounces back with a brilliant performance, even at the start of the season, right? First game back Everton, big save, second half from a header. Michael Keane, I think it was.
Yeah, it
He's
was.
made big saves, and it used to be that phrase, didn't the Petr check would get you 8 to 12 points or 8 to 15 points a season. He's probably got Villa near that actually with the amount of performances and big saves he's made in certain games when it's been tight. A brilliant keeper, but you must admit for a team that's struggling, Rob Evans must be thinking, my word, their keeper's had an absolute amazing day.
It's the kind of
And
thing that
there's
happens when you're at the bottom,
and
isn't it?
yeah, and their holding midfielders stuck one in the top bins with a weaker foot. He's like, wow, what's going on? But yeah, brilliant from Martinez. That save when he tips it on the crossbar is great, and that one just before that as well shows always athleticism.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal guy. I don't think it was on the highlights package at all. He made a save near the end of the game as well, which was
Yeah,
a decent save in front of the North. And his Villa Park form's been brilliant. He's done a couple of iffy things away from home in the last kind of month to 6 weeks, but his home form, Villa Park, has been pretty good. And I'm really encouraged by the fact that we're keeping clean sheets. To coin like a Breaking Bad phrase, we can't keep getting away with this in terms of the long range goals. But when you give yourself a foundation and you are capable of keeping clean sheets like Villa are, particular at
yeah,
Fortress Villa Park, you keep trying your luck. Eventually, something will go in. It did feel like it was going to take something special for the ball to hit the back of the net. Wolves were set up pretty well. I
yeah,
thought they made it hard for Villa. They kept it closed and compact when they were defending in the low block, but they also made it difficult because they were capable of playing on the break and springing. I thought Strand Larson put in a decent performance as a lone centre forward, playing for a bottom of the league club. I thought he looked good today. So Wolves had their moments and set up really, really well. And sometimes games do become more difficult than you think they're going to be. I've no doubt if Villa had scored in the first 5 to 10 minutes, we'd have blown them away. But the
yeah.
game didn't transpire like that, did it?
No, like Villa had that chance in the opening minutes, right? Hit the crossbar from a set play that goes in. The complexion of the game would have changed. I thought Wolves were very good. They kept the ball for long periods in that first half, which shouldn't be overlooked because
Mm.
they took the sting out of the game. Villa were getting played around. They weren't snappy in tackles. Okay, they don't press that well, but when they're in a mid block and the ball goes into midfield, that's where Kamara and Tillemans, Buendia, Rogers, McGinn, those guys steal in. They couldn't do that. I think they kept the ball really well. The wing back system is always an issue for Villa in terms of if other team has comfortable possession, it allows their wing backs to be high and wide for longer, which means they pin back the Villa's fullbacks. But given how Emery wants his midfielders to go, or wingers to go, they'll go back into a back five or a back six. It'll be times where Villa are in a 6-3-1, for example, and it's very difficult then for Villa to get the ball back. And Wolves did that very well. It helped that Kamara and Tillemans were poor first half. No getting away from it. I thought Tillemans was sloppy in possession.
Yeah.
Kamara was a little bit better, but they weren't stamping their authority. The spare man in that midfield was Emi Buendia. A few times he got the ball in duly the space that he should be, wasn't quite delivering the pass. So when you have your key midfielders or your key guys that are going to create and play from deep or through midfield, not quite at their game, it's going to be difficult to create chances. And what I think there's 3 shots on target first half. two from Tillemans, speculative really. Wasn't brilliant, but I think in those type of games when the other team want to be aggressive, they want to be tight, you can have those 45 minutes where things don't go well. But maybe it's a bit of a byproduct of what we've seen from Villa. I'm not going to keep going on about it, but my job is not to be reactionary after every game. Is to look at the sustainability of Villa, and right now they still keep doing it, keep churning out. It's amazing, and what they're doing is brilliant. Like I've said, I'll caveat there, but no team in history scores 60% or 70% of their goals from outside the box and creates third lowest XG. Okay, if you don't want to talk about XG, we can talk about other data that you might like, but it's still at the bottom end of the table. So, and Emery knows, he acknowledged it afterwards. Villa do need to score more goals from different areas as well. So that's something to look at. But isn't it brilliant that Villa are fourth? And in my opinion, they've not really hit the straps in possession. So once they do it, then my word, they might be title challengers one day, maybe. So yeah, that first half was difficult. But things got slightly better second half.
Yeah, were you surprised with the starting 11? Because I've got to admit, I was. You think about when we came up against Burnley at home with three at the back, and he
Yeah.
kind of put Marlon and Watkins in tandem. We all, you could see he went off on 60 minutes. We all were pretty confident that Marlon was going to get this start in the Premier League. I thought it would be instead of Buendia, and we'd move things around with Rodgers on the left, McGinn on the right, and it would be Marlon and Watkins, but it wasn't. Watkins was designated on the bench today. What did you make of that?
Yeah, I thought Watkins and Marlon would have played together, but Wolves' back five is different to Burnley's. Right, everyone on paper you can see a back five, and you think it might be playing the same way as the other team, but the roles of certain positions are different, right? So you look at the Young Boys game, you look at the Burnley game. Their outside centre backs in the back three were jumping, so they would follow the Villa's tens, and that meant there was space for Marlon or whoever the striker was to run into. And you saw for his goal against Young Boys, other chances as well. Rodgers would go in, their centre back would track him, Marlon would spin into the space. Where Wolves did a really good job of not going in, or the centre backs not going into with the tens, just holding their position, getting one of the midfielders to pick up.
And the two midfielders got through a lot of work actually.
They
I thought
did.
Andre and Gomez.
Yeah, because they had different players to mark depending on where the ball was on the pitch, so they had to do that. And when you have a back three that are not stepping out to mark the tens, it's essentially Marlon against and Rodgers kind of played as a striker the first half against three big centre backs. So it's more difficult to have space or to run into those channels because these centre backs are still in those positions. So yeah, it was a different game. I give the credit to Wolves again, good setup. But these were the type of games where I was just like, I love Villa to have a ball carrying winger.
Oh, we're crying out for some width, aren't we? Crying those
But
kind of games.
It's not just width. Leon Bailey was awful last season, right? But what he would do through his natural style was he would take a lot of touches and he would attract markers towards him. And he may lose the ball, but if he passed it back, Villa then had space somewhere else on the pitch because he had that natural width. Villa have been brilliant this season in terms of adapting with the lack of winger cash going forwards. But in certain games where you really need that winger just to open the game up, that's where Villa's deficiencies are quite glaring in the office.
Yeah, I've got to say, I thought Cash was actually it will go under the radar. I'm not saying he had loads of the ball or he had an unbelievable game, but in the second half, definitely Kamara was dropping in to make a back three more so, and Cash was allowed to come forward. And like you say, McGinn was holding width at time, but it was to kind of let Cash underlap and come inside and carry the ball. I thought Cash did well with that. I'd like to see more of him being allowed to come forward, just purely because at this point, I would take Leon Bailey back. Because honestly, I know he was poor last season, but the season before he was unbelievable. But I know he was poor last season. But if you think about it, right, Elliott's come in, may as well not be an Aston Villa player. Sancho came on and gave one of the stinkiest cameos I think I've ever seen today. In the time he was on, the first two things he did were absolutely dreadful.
He's not a very good sub. I've noticed.
No, but I thought he's been okay the other times. In fairness,
yeah, he's not like Barkley or what they think of Barkley is where he comes on, adapts straight away.
Barkley's a good sub.
But it's not just down to him. It's just sometimes the player, right? They just can't get into the flow quick enough, and he came on in difficult circumstances. But it wasn't
Onana was a good sub. Onana was a good sub today.
But it wasn't, a very good cameo. But I think they Villa know, right? They read things. They have data. They know they need a right winger. They'll try for a right winger in January. It's not like they'll be like, no, we're fine with it. We don't mind. They know they need a winger.
I just look at at the moment, and this is I believe I genuinely feel this. Obviously, I wouldn't be saying it if I didn't genuinely feel it. Elliot, I would like to see more of, but I'm giving up talking about that. It's gone.
Yeah,
But
let's not talk about it.
at this current point, Elliot, Gasson, Sancho, I'd swap either of them for any of them for Leon Bailey at this point.
That's,
We just need a wing. We need a winger
do you
badly.
remember when Sancho first came to Villa, and I was like, I would rather him play right wing
I'm not
because
sure I would.
I would. I think he will offer you the same what he's doing left wing, but you got more left wing or you got more left tens. That's what my argument is. But yeah, they need a right winger. I guess that one works in certain games if you want someone that can run. You still need more from him on the ball, very technically loose on the ball, but he'll give you pace, I guess.
Is he that quick? I've not seen it.
Do you know what? If you had
Dave
another
Reed
right
says
back,
this. I've not seen it.
if you had another right back, Matty Cash can play that. He can do it. But
Yeah,
again, it's working now. So
yeah, of
I'm not
course.
going to stop. Yeah, give it advice to Emery. What he's doing with his squad, and it goes back to the top of the show, is unbelievable. I don't know. I didn't think anyone could elasticate players' abilities like he is. Unbelievable coach, and this is 3 years now. I've been covering him. I'm in awe of him every single time he does something like this. It's incredible. But my job is to point out where I'm not going to say this is a brilliant performance, and I think this has been a brilliant attacking fluid season. It's not been, and
No,
they need to improve because at some point, if this carries on, they're going to lose games and everyone's going to be like, oh, see this, and people are going to be captain hindsight. They'll be like, the signs were there all season. Emery knows that it needs to improve in attacking creativity.
and it's another. I mean, they're all big weeks, but it's another big week. Brighton
Yeah.
Wednesday, Arsenal at home
Oh,
on
yeah.
Saturday. I mean, if we win both of them, I mean, he's a miracle worker anyway. But if we win both of them, honestly, I'll be even further. It's a tough schedule. Brighton have won today well at Forest. Apparently, it could have been 6 or 7 today away at Nottingham Forest. Arsenal are obviously Arsenal doing well. They've been a little bit patchy away from home recently. Draw at
Yeah.
Sunderland and the draw at 10-men Chelsea today. So they're a little bit patchy away from home, and they won't enjoy coming to Villa Park. I don't think. I feel that for one, that feels like the kind of game where we do turn up, we do put
Yeah.
in a good
You
performance, like when we
play
beat
full
City a few weeks
midfielders.
ago.
You play full midfielders. You play Kamara, Tillemans, Onana, McGinn, box midfield, and then
Yes,
you
love
go
it.
toe to toes with them. Yeah, brilliant. Like the Villa team, right? You talk about every other team in that top 8. They spend a lot more money than Villa have, with a more youthful squad, with players that have been renewed and it's different types of players. What they're doing is incredible. Yeah, I can't. I'm still thinking about it now. It's astonishing. And I wouldn't be surprised if they get 4 to 6 points out of those 2 games.
Villa to me have got. You can say the investment hasn't been there because they're not allowed to spend the money that the other clubs have spent, of course. But you look at the players. We've got some unbelievable players. We've waxed lyrical about certain players through this pod already. But we've got a top 3 manager. He's in the top 3 managers in the
Yeah.
Premier League, isn't he? Unai Emery, without a doubt.
No other manager in the league would get this much from these group of players. No way.
He's incredible.
No way.
So
No.
that's it. I think 28 minutes. I said to you I'd only keep you half an hour. I'll have probably gone over my promise by the time I finish rambling on an outro. But I've just about kept the promise, Jacob. Have you got anything that you would like to plug that's coming up this week? Busy waiting for Jacob the Journo as well. Up and down the country, Brighton, then back. Arsenal.
Got some. Yeah, we got obviously my longer term projects. I'm doing in the background. This week there may be a transfer piece, Sam. Maybe, who
Ooh.
knows? A transfer. Looking forward to the 2026 January and summer window, and I think most clubs have got to do it as part of the Athletic. I've explained to my editors that doing Villa and anticipating what Villa are going to do is a particularly thankless task because, as we know, plans can change very quickly at Villa. So it may prove outdated very, very quickly, but that'll be there. Obviously, Brighton, and a few other pieces as well. We've talked about John McGinn. He went to America over the summer. There might be something on that as well. So lots going on, and I've got to work on my big Christmas read, which is always my favourite read of the year, and I save it for Boxing Day. So I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, 2 things off the back of what you've just said. The first one is these poor players can't do anything without you reporting on it. You know, when they get a chef, JACOB Tanswell writes an article on it. McGinn goes to America, and JACOB Tanswell writes an article on it. You got to feel sorry for these Villa players. They can't do anything with you on the beat.
No, I'm not doing anything too intrusive, am I? Though? But
No,
no, yeah,
I
I
jest.
like these are the type of pieces like I love to do. Like as a journalist, you just get to do these weird and wonderful pieces that a lot of other publication can't do and won't do. So yeah, I love it. I give me this over a transfer story any day of the week.
Well,
Funny you should say that. Like, contracts and transfers. I don't
it's
enjoy.
your nickname.
I don't enjoy those windows. I'd rather just be a normal writer that doesn't have to get involved. But again, Dan, what are you going to do when I'm in Canada, no phone in January for a week?
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's really bad
so
news.
yeah, it is
No, I
bad.
don't like
It
to hear.
is.
Hate to hear that again. Annual leave has not been submitted to the 1874 portal, Jacob. So very, very upsetting news. The second thing I was going to say is that obviously you mentioned a transfer piece coming out this week. You'll remember that there was due to be a transfer show on 1874 last Wednesday, and Tanswell's diary changed, and the show had to be me on my own
We
talking about
never
transfers into.
agreed on
Oh,
the transfer, did we?
I don't want to be the HMRC of podcast there, but I reckon I could go back through my phone, and I reckon there might be an
Yeah,
agreement in there.
but I thought me doing the review from last
Yeah, I mean
weekend
that's just a
would
given at this
actually.
point.
What is it? Oh
That's
wow,
a
okay.
shy. That's a shy given at this point, Jacob.
But I've got a job, Dan. I'm
No, I know.
busy.
I know. It accompanies the job well, doesn't it? Though it helps. Does it
It
help? It
does.
probably doesn't help you with
No,
the job. In fact,
I'm sure it does. Because even at Villa Park, I get sneaky contract boys shouting at
yeah,
me. Probably
exactly.
actually every single game. So people do obviously know me from this. But yeah, I know I keep saying I'm like a broken record, but I am up to Christmas very busy during the week.
Yeah.
So podcast maybe at a minimum.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see when that transfer pace comes out and see if we can get a sneaky 15, 20 minutes out of you for a transfer show, Jacob. Of course, we're seeing each other next Sunday, I believe.
We are. Big
Yeah,
quiz.
big quiz night.
Yeah. What is the topic? Is it general knowledge?
I assume so. That's what quizzes normally are. Yeah.
Oh, it could be sport themed. It could be Villa themed. Right.
I imagine it's general. He's not going to do.
Okay.
To give a peek to what we're actually doing. Like Chad from Villa Forever podcast. Everyone will know Chad. Great man. Has invited Jacob and I to the quiz night that he hosts, and we're going to go next Sunday to the Fox. I think it is in Tamworth.
Can anyone come along?
I don't know. I mean, I
I
don't
think so.
hijack his night, Jacob. People
I
might come
believe
and
so.
just
It's
shout sneaky
open.
transfer boy at you all night.
No,
That's
but
not what we want. But
if you want a good old quiz on a Sunday, I've heard
yeah.
Tamworth is a where's it called? Where is it? The Fox.
The Fox, I believe. But there's two
The
pubs
Fox is the
called the
place to
Fox, and
be.
I've got to admit, I'm not sure which one it is. But there is two called the Fox.
Well, try both if you can.
Yeah, if
And
you
you'll
don't
see
see
us
us in
all
one, we're
up.
in the other.
But no, looking forward to it. Chad's top guy, and looking forward to seeing him again.
Yeah, he put the pressure on me earlier on in the week. I'd actually already mentioned it to Jen, but he did say Jacob's confirmed in it. Are you definitely coming? And I could go back to him and say I was definitely coming because I just mentioned it literally hours before. I hate it when that happens. I hate it when you're talking about someone and they text you. It's happened to me again today when I was talking about you, and then literally you text me straight away. So yeah, it's funny how the world works. Right, I told you I'd get you over 30. In the end, thank you very much to Jacob for joining me. It's actually Sunday evening when we're recording, but this will come out
past
on
11
Monday.
now. Past 11 p.m. My word.
And I've still got to do my preparation for the Guardian football podcast, Football Weekly, for the morning because I'm doing that at 8:15. So I better get that done pretty promptly as it's 11:05. But love the Monday review that we film on a Sunday, Jacob. So thank you very much for joining me today. If this hasn't been enough for you, there is 2 other pieces of post-Wolves content that you can listen to or watch on the channel. There's of course Through the Turnstiles, where mine and my dad's match day is documented. Someone actually came up to him today and told him that they loved him on the show. So it's gone to his head big time.
Before I go, every game I will go through various Villa related videos on my way home or in bed, and I had one running as I was sleeping. At about 3 a.m., I woke up and I heard your voice, and for a split second, I thought you found where I lived.
In there,
yeah, it was actually one of your car videos, and so that was quite a fright actually. But it's all good.
I can imagine. Do you remember me turning up at your house asking you when we're going to do the transfers podcast?
Wouldn't put it past Dan.
No, like that. Is it Michael McIntyre show or
Yeah,
Anton
yeah,
Deck
yeah.
where they come to the attack Michael McIntyre, isn't it? Where people just
Yeah.
come in and wipe people up. Yeah, I'd definitely be up for doing that to get you on a transfer show. Anyway, so there is plenty more post Wolves content if you would like to watch it, and there's going to be some pre-Brighton content as always as well ahead of that game. Weird to have a Premier League midweek game, in all honesty. So used to the Europe on a Thursday, to have a Premier League Wednesday one is pretty surreal. Do all the things that I ask you to do every single week. Check out NordVPN, get some extra football in your life. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube with your post notifications on. Give us a like and leave us a comment with your thoughts on the Wolves game or anything that we've discussed or said in this podcast. Apple and Spotify, same kind of vibe. If you want to leave us a comment on Spotify or a review on Apple, that would be massively appreciated. Don't forget the 5 stars as well, because all these little things really, really help the channel. That's it. Expect that there'll be some content on Tuesday, so watch out for that. And as always, it's an Up the Villa from me, and it's an Up the Villa from Jacob Tanswell.
Up the Villa.